All right, guys. Give me just one sec, all right? All right, guys. If the music ever gets too loud, just let me know in the chat, okay? Yeah, just let me know in the chat if the music ever gets too loud. But we are live. It is October 23rd, 2023. It is 9, or I guess Here in Utah, it's 7:10 a.m. 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Beautiful morning. Had an incredible weekend. You know, I got stories for you guys for this weekend, from this weekend for sure. So we'll hear that here in a bit. But for now, we'll dive right into it. All right, guys. So, main thing I want you guys to know is Mondays. Okay, Mondays. Do not miss Mondays. If there's any session during the week that I can't have you guys miss, it's a Monday. Okay, so ideally, whenever you guys are choosing what days to trade, make sure that you're tuning in. Even if you're not planning on trading, like, make sure you're tuning in on Mondays. Okay, Monday's session is when I set up the whole week. I clear my chart and we start from zero. Okay, top down analysis on every asset. All right, so we'll dive into it. So here on a monthly perspective, you know, we could be starting this retracement. Okay, I do see us pumping up to the upside a little bit more before we continue. We do get a retracement, and really this area right here is still very much relevant. Okay, that imbalance there on the monthly, still very much relevant. Okay, this weekly imbalance here, again, very much relevant as well. I don't believe that we're bearish yet. Honestly, I want to see us get back up above these previous weekly highs. So for me, my weekly objective this week is that previous weekly high. And it's mainly, okay, so I know that last week we closed down, but we still have this higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We could just be creating that higher low, and now we can push up to that higher high. So I'm not saying that we're not going to smack the lows. First, I do see us getting back into this bullish imbalance. Okay, so that's why I marked that one out. Okay, so my weekly objective though is still upside. So that price level right there, 106,670. Okay, that's my objective for the week. Okay, and as you guys know, I'm gonna mark that out. And I'm going to be filling out my journal with you guys as well. Okay. Okay, 1 second. It is the 4th week of the month already. The 4th week of the month. Let's see. This week is my online bootcamp. Nice. This Saturday, I actually have a really cool news and announcements about the bootcamp. So let's see, 106, 670. Perfect. I dropped my link. Hey, good morning, Jonathan. What's good, brother? Grand rising, blessings to all. Let's run it. All right, so on a weekly perspective, yeah, I am going to be looking for that previous weekly high as an objective. So an overall bias is ideally to see at the beginning of the week for us to drop down, grab some liquidity, and then, you know, accumulate to the upside there. Okay, so obviously not on this time frame. I don't see that's the way it's going to play out, but I do see this on the daily time frame. Out of this monthly imbalance, we could potentially get this accumulation that's going to get us to that upside. Okay, so I am pretty bullish still. Okay, and I do believe that we're going to get that upside. Right, so, and a good area that I'm looking at today is that weekly imbalance. So I am looking at shorts for the day. I do believe that we can potentially come back down here. Maybe the shorts won't play out today, but I do believe we're going to get back down there overall. That's the objective. So my objective for today will be this weekly low right here on the left, which is this weekly imbalance, as you guys can see there. Give me one sec. Okay, that orange line right there. So 105,950, right? And I'm gonna put that on my daily journal, right? Daily journal right there. Boom. Okay, awesome. DXY is all wrapped up in terms of higher time frame journaling. Okay, so now weekly objective, daily objective. Why am I looking towards the downside still? It's because we've smacked this imbalance quite a few times and have failed to pull away. So what my assumption is no matter how many daily lows we took out, we failed to accumulate. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, daily liquidity wasn't sufficient enough. Maybe it's weekly liquidity that we're looking for. So this low, this previous weekly low, does get my attention for today. Okay, that's why I was looking at that imbalance. But if you guys look here, we have a daily or a weekly gap. Oh no, a daily gap right here within our daily range. I'm gonna mark that out as well. Okay, there's some gaps down there, but they're overlapping this one, so I'm just gonna leave that there. And yeah, that's kind of what we went down to today. Then up here, we also have a gap between Thursday and Friday. And then we have one between Friday and Monday. So I'm going to mark that one out right there. That weekly gap. That lines up actually pretty well with that high. So very nice. Okay. Taking note of everything here. Cool. We have pretty good areas so far. Imbalance. Awesome. I do think that we're going to short off for a little bit though. Four-hour looks pretty bearish in terms of structure. Okay, we do have this higher high, higher low, higher high. Then we break towards the downside, lower low, lower high, a lower low, and you guys can see this slight accumulation right here. We accumulated just to go above the highs, get back into that weekly gap, and distribute again. So here we have some internal liquidity right there. If this is the 4-hour range from this high, right, to actually that low, but in terms of bodies to that low right there, that range right there, this is your internal liquidity level. So you can see price action starting this slight accumulation. Okay, we swept previous daily low, starting some slight accumulation. We'll see what ends up happening here, but overall looking pretty good for maybe a push higher. Again, we're in a spot where we could either go lower, right, to sweep more liquidity, or this could be sufficient enough to accumulate. Now, will Monday is usually creating highs and lows of the week? Not always. It does happen, and it is probable. Okay. So you guys can see that accumulation. We got like another 10 minutes before the indices open. And personally, yeah, this hourly could accumulate. And I'd just be looking at this previous daily high. Okay. So give me one sec. I'm also journal this piece. So I'm actually thinking longs on dollar today. Now that we got into the intraday time frame. On a daily time frame, I'd say lows. because the way we closed yesterday, I mean the Friday. On a 4-hour perspective, still bearish. I wanted to see us get back into this low right here though. At least take out this low. But if this 1 hour accumulates and we hold out accumulation, I will be looking for this high. And so I am going to note that. One second. Cool. Yeah. Because we already swept previous daily low. We're trading into this daily gap. So we could go for that weekly high before we come back down. We'll see. We'll see. It all depends on this 1 hour right here. So for now, we're going to switch over to the indices. And then after the opening price, we'll go look at GU and EU. And again, guys, if the music ever gets too loud, just let me know. Okay? Let me know. Starting from scratch. Man, the monthly looks great. I mean, I've been looking for shorts this whole monthly range, and it's just been distributing very nicely. Give me one sec. There we go. So, you know, for now, I do see us filling up this imbalance. Okay? I do see us continuing down and filling up this imbalance. Because I essentially want us to come all the way down here. On a weekly perspective, I mean, we just took out the previous weekly low. That low right there. Those previous weekly lows. We just took them out really early in the week. This was going to be my weekly objective, and we actually just immediately hit it. Okay, so in terms of another weekly objective, it's going to be very tough because so what I do when a weekly objective has already been hit or a major low has been taken, okay, what I look for is the closest objective, right? But towards the downside, we clearly don't have a lot of those. So this one's going to be a little different. My weekly objective here is going to be 50% of this imbalance. Okay, so I am going to mark that out here. 50% of that imbalance. Okay, so that right there. I'm looking at the discount end of that imbalance. Okay, I want to see what happens down there. But I do believe that we're going to get a little bit more shorts this week. The only thing I would love is if we were to take out a low and not see a reversal, that we would have to have an imbalance down there. So this week is going to actually be very important, because if this week's end up closing down and creates an imbalance below this low right here, while we trade through here and we create an imbalance like the one right above us, and we just rip through those lows and create an insufficiency, I mean, we're going to be looking at a lot further down, right? But if this week leaves a wick to the downside, we're going to just be looking at that retracement already. All right, so this week is actually really important. Okay, so I'm looking at 14,432. And we're just going to turn that into 1430 even. Okay. So 1430 even on the short side for NASDAQ. And this is our weekly objective. And again, please do your own due diligence. Don't just set what I'm setting, because in terms of price levels, we all have different price levels unless you're looking at the futures. Okay, you have to be looking at this same pair right here that I'm looking at to get these price levels. So it may look a little different on your feed. Now, in terms of gaps and balances, be sure, guys, be sure you're not comparing to Owanda, because Owanda is not going to have these gaps. And these gaps are actually very important for you to know. If you're not even considering gaps, you're playing yourself. Okay? If you're not taking into consideration gaps, you're playing yourself. All right? I'm sorry to be so blunt, but it's the truth. Take it from somebody that used to only trade with the Owanda feed. All right, we'll look at these gaps here in a second. So, one second. Let me fill this out. Make sure we're all good. Out. Cool. NASDAQ daily. You know what? Let's go back to the weekly. The weekly, I could see the gaps a lot better. So the daily right here. The weekly right here. That gap gets my attention. This gap right here also gets my attention. This is all within our range here. And this is a fat gap. Wow. Some really big gaps. Forgot about all these. And then current new week opening gap. Current new week opening gap. We're gonna mark those out, and you guys can see those a lot better on this time frame now too. Okay, cool. Mark that, drag out to the side. Boom. Okay, guys, cool. Now we got our daily and weekly range, which honestly happened to be the same one. Okay, the daily didn't make much retracements other than this slight one right here. So, I mean, in terms of the daily, again, I want to see an imbalance trading through these lows. Okay, and the reason I want to see an imbalance is because usually if we don't get an imbalance through the major lows, we're just going to get that reversal. So we could be looking at the starting, if we don't see that impulsive move to the downside, creating a bearish insufficiency, we may be looking at this week as being the accumulation that's going to do this, right? So when we rip through the lows, okay, when we rip through the lows, you kind of want to see this right here. See how we went through this low right here? Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And see how we went through that low right there? We created an insufficiency to the downside. That's what I want to see, because then we'll see a continuation. Right? See how this high didn't get ripped through with an imbalance? And look what followed. Reversal. Okay. Cool. So, major lows already got hit. Let's look at Dow Jones next. We got the opening here in less than 30 seconds. Let me look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ really could just get back up there and continue dropping. Right? And it's in a, I mean, we're already below the lows, so I'm personally not going to be shorting today if we do end up shorting until we get some really clear indications of bearishness and no reversal. So I'm going to be taking it very cautiously when it comes to shorting below these lows. And if I do short anything, it's going to be in a very immediate target. Okay. But ideally, I want to see shorts from this weekly gap towards the downside. And if we do continue going higher, I want to see us trade down one more time. Okay, there's the opening price. It's just higher high, higher low, higher high. Very simple. Okay. Let's go to Dow Jones. And Dow, I mean, right now, Dow for me, this wick, ICT said something recently, and I'm going to take it into consideration. And he said that wicks are like insufficiencies. And so I'm going to look at 50% of this wick right here. Okay, and that's going to be my weekly objective for Dow. That's going to be my weekly objective for Dow. And give me just one sec, because we forgot to do a daily objective for NASDAQ. Oh, I guess I didn't. I mean, I mentioned it, but I didn't mark it out. It's this gap right here. I want to see us get back into this gap and trade into it. Some longs into that gap and some shorts out of that gap back into this orange line. So really kind of within this range that's in this image right now. Back to Dow. Yeah, one second. Let's see. I forgot that was not the weekly objective, because that was the monthly. So let's see what that lines up with on a weekly perspective. That lines up pretty nicely with that gap and some basically equal lows. So I may or may not keep it the same. I'm gonna switch over to this weekly low right here, and that's gonna be my weekly objective for Dow. 32,936. 32,936 for Dow objective. 32,936. Okay. Distributing really nicely from this gap right here. I know it's a smaller gap, but it's definitely there. Actually, we can do a little bit of a bigger gap from the left right here. You guys can see it. It's a lot more clear. And if I have multiple gaps lining up, I go for the biggest one. If I have multiple gaps lining up at the same level, I go for the largest one. Which in this case, between all this one, that one, this one to me looks the biggest. I'm not gonna look too far back, because then you got this big ass one right here, and I'm not really trying to. I'm trying to narrow it down. So yeah, I go for the largest. If there's a bunch of little ones that line up together, I go for the largest one out of all those little ones. Okay, we went right back up to that gap, distributed very nicely last week. Okay, we took out previous daily low. We got previous weekly low over here. We got this bearish imbalance. Cool. Weekly objective seems very good. I'm gonna look at this gap right here. From this low or closing price to that opening price right there. See any more gaps from that closure to that opening? Okay, and at first you guys may have a hard time identifying these gaps because they're kind of hard to see, but I promise you, as long as you're not looking at Owanda feed, you will know what I'm talking about. Okay, and honestly, we are starting to trade into that gap down here. Also take that one into consideration. Weekly and daily range still bearish, remains pretty bearish so far. We got the new week opening gap right here. I'm gonna drag these out just a little bit further out. And I just like to clean things up so they look all nice and clean from where they're actually from. Boom. Okay. All right. So shorts are looking pretty good into these lows. Still, Nasdaq's already traded through those lows. Dow has not, and S&P has already traded through those lows. So Dow, honestly, you can consider this bullish divergence, but we're extremely bearish. We're extremely bearish to be considering bullish divergence. I would consider this more as Dow has yet to take out the lows, so we have a little bit more room to go lower. Because if you start looking at divergence, really the divergence here, and you guys will be able to see this right away. The divergence here, which is this is Dow right here, and let me delete this. Okay, the divergence here is the weekly, or I guess not the weekly, but in the daily. You guys can see this very, very clearly. Dow creates a higher high right there. Nasdaq doesn't create a higher high. Okay, very clear divergence. If I were to look at these two, one's trading below the lows, the other one isn't, that's fine. But the divergence, if we're bearish, you're only going to be focusing on the highs. Okay, but if you're just focusing on divergence and trying to see divergence everywhere, you're gonna find it. That's the thing about trading, man. If you're looking for buys, you're gonna see buys. If you're looking for shorts, you're gonna see shorts. That's why your bias is so important, right? That's why our biases are so important, because they will give you, you know, if you're on the wrong side of the market, you will not succeed, because you will still see everything. I mean, sometimes you will. I mean, I've definitely been wrong and still profited. It can happen. It's just, it mainly depends on your management. But for the most part, I would avoid always looking for divergence in everything that you guys see. Okay? Make sure you're lined up with the overall trend. You want to find trending assets, right? Because in this weekly imbalance, right, on Dow, let's go look at Nasdaq again. On that weekly imbalance on Nasdaq and that weekly imbalance on Dow, what happened? We got divergence, right? So inside a weekly imbalance, we got divergence. It's not like we're looking for divergence anywhere. Just anywhere and everywhere, right? And then another very clear thing, check this out. On the weekly, Nasdaq fails to take out previous weekly high last week. Dow takes out previous weekly high. Clear divergence. It gets even more clear, right? So in terms of Dow, on a daily perspective, I'm just looking at that weekly. I'm still looking at shorts. I do believe that shorts are just going to continue planning out these lows right here. Yeah. It's just a little too close. It's the most obvious objective, and shorts are just going to plan out and do their thing, right? So we're going to look at that. Hope that was helpful in terms of why I'm continuing to look for shorts. Any questions, comments, or observations so far, guys? Can you guys drop some sevens in the chat if everything was clear? But if you got some questions, drop it in the chat as well. And we're going to look at EU here in a second for whoever was about to ask that. Yeah, in terms of indices, I mean, if you're scalping it, that's beautiful. I would recommend that. See, we're in a daily 1 hour imbalance, right? We're in a 1 hour imbalance, and then this is where you kind of want to see distribution. For me though, I wanted to see it a little bit higher. So if it happens down here, again, I won't be participating. I wanted to see the shorts happening a little bit higher. Okay, so now Let's go to Dow. Okay. And then you have a 1 hour imbalance. So let's go look at the 1 hour imbalance. Mark it out. You got a 1 hour imbalance here on Dow. You have a 1 hour imbalance here on NASDAQ. Let's go to the 15-minute. Dow fails to take out previous hourly high. NASDAQ takes out previous hourly high. Inside that bearish divergence, that bearish imbalance. Does that look familiar to some of you? Doesn't that look exactly like the weekly time frame? Doesn't that look exactly like what happened on the weekly? On the weekly, it happened exactly the same. Imbalance, divergence. Right? Previous area of distribution, divergence. Bias, right? That's how we continue to get these shorting biases. Because in every single previous area of distribution, we tend to get these strong levels or these confirmations towards the downside. Drop some sevens in the chat if that makes sense, guys. I want to make sure you guys are awake. I want to make sure you guys are following, because we've been talking about this for weeks, and my goal is for you guys to see these things without me pointing them out. My goal is to have you guys point these things out to me, if anything, right? Because I can know that you guys see these things. Got some sevens in the chat. Beautiful, right? If we look and treat every time frame the same, you guys will be able to see that this could be the weekly time frame, and it's the exact same thing that I was just talking about, right? Previous area of distribution, the trend is towards the downside. Look at our previous area of distribution, drop one time frame, and boom. And you didn't even have to drop one time frame. On that weekly imbalance, it was the weekly itself that diverged. Anybody rocking the shorts? Anybody rocking these shorts? Dow came back to this 1 minute imbalance. If anybody's rocking these shorts to the lows, it's a beautiful trade. I wanted myself to look a little bit higher, but divergence is divergence. So that's the order flow. NASDAQ just ripping through lows. Dow ripping through the lows, hitting our daily objective. Who caught these shorts? That's beautiful. They're all just ripping right through those lows. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Switching over to EU. Again, if I do see a continuation lower, it's got to be with an insufficiency to the downside. This one did get ripped through, and we do have an imbalance here. But this is why this week is so important, because if this week comes back and doesn't leave an imbalance through these lows, and let's say we do this instead. 1 second. Let's say we do this instead, and we retrace enough where we create a way smaller imbalance, and it completely fills out the imbalance through the lows. That I don't count as an imbalance through the lows. The imbalance, the low itself, has to line up with the imbalance. At least this one. At least the bodies. Okay? Preferably the low, but at least the bodies. And if the bodies ain't running through them with an insufficiency, me personally, I would see this starting to retrace. Okay? So that's my thoughts on that. Now a slight accumulation starting here on EU. Major lows. All right, and then this high, I mean this low right here gets my attention. You guys see how we created an imbalance through that low here? Not directly, but we did create one right here. And then last week we come up and distribute from that area. It's really nice. Okay, gaps. Make sure you have your gaps. Again, FXCM, I believe, has the feed with the gaps for Forex assets. It's a fat ass gap right here. Yeah. Let's mark that out. Mark that out here. Not a lot of insufficiencies towards this downside, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but there's clear liquidity towards the upside. Actually, this high took out all this liquidity. This range right here, interesting. So in terms of a weekly objective for me on EU, it's hard to say because of the way we're closing, but for the most part, if we do get longs, it would be at the start of the week. If I want to see shorts, it would probably end up planning out later on throughout the week. So I still want to see shorts. I think price action is going to struggle to see these shorts for some reason. So I'm going to follow my instinct and say short. But I'm going to look for the low of this gap right here. That's it. The low of that gap. I'm going to keep my objectives very close. Very, very close. And adjust as we go through the week. So far, that's 1.05850. 1.05850. I guess I don't keep a journal on EU, but that's the area right there. In terms of the daily, I would have been looking at the previous daily high. We've already hit that, so for now, look at this gap. Holy crap. Hold on. This is an insanely big gap here on the daily. 1 second. This gap right here is just insanely big. But it was the new quarter. The start of the new quarter. So I'm going to leave that marked out actually. Yeah. I'm going to leave that marked out. But today, in terms of objectives, it does seem like we're going to go long. So I'm going to look at that. Actually, so much liquidity towards the downside, right? All of those liquidities. One hour looks bullish still. Created a lot of equal lows. So I'm gonna say after we took out this high, traded into that area, we may get back into this blue shaded area one more time. So I want another stab into that blue shaded area. So I'm gonna say these longs. Okay, and I'm gonna say for today my objective is going to be 1.06470, that orange line right there. Okay, so I'm gonna go long still for EU, and I keep copying that like I have a journal for EU. I should start journaling EU, to be honest. Yeah, longs on EU after we took out those lows. Nope, we just created a lot of equal lows. having this bearish divergence though, after the hourly closure, be cautious of this bearish divergence here. If after we close on the hour in the next 10 minutes, we leave a pretty decent size imbalance there, we're more than likely going to go for these lows real quick. Okay? Just beware of that. Beware of this bearish imbalance here. I don't know how much of that we're going to leave behind. Because after we sweep liquidity, trade into the previous area of distribution, yeah, that imbalance with some equal lows kind of looks suspicious. I haven't looked at GU in a minute. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to go too in depth with GU. I don't really trade it too much. Gap. We got weekly imbalance there. And we got some gaps here as well. Lots of gaps here as well. This new week doesn't have a lot of gaps, fortunately. So, yeah, we're just going to focus on the ones that are already created. But this does look very beautiful for an accumulation for longs, to be honest. And I'd be looking at this whole thing right here, previous weekly highs, into that imbalance. But, I mean, that previous weekly high right there does make a lot of sense for GU. I would love to see some longs on GU. The longs look perfect. They look ready. They swept previous daily high. Maybe the longs will come down one more time, previous areas of accumulation, and then continue going higher. But for me, the longs overall make the most sense in terms of that bullish structure. And balance, previous area of distribution, it'd be perfect. So for today, still watching out for that 1 hour, but looking at these equal highs here, you know, the 1 hour does look pretty good to continue going higher, and aiming for that previous daily high over there, equal top. Beautiful objectives. Yeah, this imbalance overall, I do see it being respected today. So that's just flying. There it is. The low got taken here. The low got taken there on Dow, and the low got taken over there on S&P. Allowing these guys to develop is key. You don't want to be guessing the side, what side it's going to take, right? You just kind of want to already have areas predetermined. Those shorts, though, at the beginning of the session played out beautifully. Beautifully. Anybody that played those shorts and tried to hold it, I'm sorry. I don't know why you would try to hold it, but anybody that did participate in those shorts took profit at the lows, like I mentioned. When you're below the lows, you don't want to hold anything. Just like NASDAQ too, you don't want to hold anything below the lows. Like in terms of shorting, you don't want to hold it. I understand longs, yeah, you may want to try to hold those, but in terms of shorts, after we take out major lows, it's rare that we just continue dropping for very long after that. Not without rounding up some liquidity first. Okay, so the longs into this gap look very promising across the board. Longs into those gaps. On Dow, gap low. New week opening gap low. Look beautiful. It could get up there and still respect this 1 hour bearish order flow. gap first, Asian high next. That's the way that I'd see it. All right, guys, for the people that did stick around throughout the call, beautiful. I'm glad that you guys are here because only you guys will get this opportunity, okay? Only you guys will get this opportunity. So, for everybody on here, okay, for everybody on here, I made it my goal to fill out every single seat of that boot camp, okay? So, I had 10 more seats left of my boot camp that is on the 28th. All right. And I want you guys to click on the description link for the boot camp. Okay, it should be in the description. Yeah, should be like the bottom link after it says reach me. Right below that says boot camp day 1 and 2 registration. Okay, that one right there. I want you guys to 1 second. Yeah, online bootcamp, that one. Okay, I want you guys to click that one. All right, and everybody that's on here is gonna get a promo code because I want you guys to run it up for the rest of the year. I want you guys to finish the year strong. I'm gonna give you guys a fat ass discount. I want to make sure that we fill out all these seats. I want to make sure that the value gets provided to the individuals who are putting in the most work, to all the individuals that show up every single day to these calls, to these streams. I want to get back to all of you guys. That's why I don't do the giveaways right at the beginning of the calls, because not everyone sticks around. Only the soldiers stick around through the call. Only the individuals that are dedicated, motivated, and driven are here and stick around through the calls. So this one's for all of you guys. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a fat ass discount on this boot camp. Okay, we're gonna knock off $120 on this boot camp, and I want you guys to run it up. Okay, the promo code, I'm gonna drop it in the chat right now. The promo code is, you guys can go try it out. It's run it up. That's the promo code right there, guys. I just dropped it in the chat. Go check it out. Apply it to your cart. I want to get back to every single person that's in here. Again, that's knocking off a huge chunk of that price. Huge chunk of that price. And yeah, I just wanted to run it up with every single one of you guys. I want to make sure that everybody that is on these calls all the time gets this opportunity. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know there's a couple of seats that we gave away already, but you know, I'm not gonna give away any more free seats. But now we got this big ass promo for anybody that didn't get the opportunity to win any of those giveaways. You guys still have a good opportunity to get and join that boot camp. Okay. Again, what's the difference between these live streams and a boot camp? Well, the boot camp, I'm gonna walk you guys from A, B, C, all the way to Z with these ICT concepts. Okay, I've been studying ICT for a little over 2 years. I feel like as if I've received a pretty great understanding of his concepts, and I would love to share all that knowledge with you guys, my understanding of ICT concepts, and my collection of liquidity throughout my smart money concepts journey as well. Okay, but I know a lot, you know, not everyone likes to sit through 2-3 hour lectures with ICT, and I know sometimes it can be very confusing. So this is to simplify and clarify all of that stuff. I'm gonna keep it very simple, very straightforward. This is the last time I'm gonna present this. I'm gonna do this presentation, so take advantage of it, because after this one, it's gone. All right. But in terms of the longs, guys, who's in these longs? Who's in these longs? I kind of have a feeling that we're gonna get back in here, right? That'd be nice. See NASDAQ. I want to see an imbalance through that high in NASDAQ. Don't come back yet. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cool, 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 guys. It's 10:01. Cool. I'm getting that retracement across the board on all of them. EU, some nice longs. And EU, let's see how that 1 hour closed. Or that 15-minute. Was it 30-minute? Ah, it was the 30-minute. I thought it was the 1 hour for some reason. Nah, yeah, this thing's gonna pop off. This 30-minute may create a retracement, maybe back down into these areas, but yeah, nah. I would wait. If you are shorting, I would wait for evidence. Let's go back to the dollar. 1 hour ended up, 4 hour ended up coming up to this previous 4 hour high and just distributed. So yeah, I do see more shorts, to be honest, on dollar. That 1 hour did not end up pushing higher. Didn't even break this counter trend trade. So we are looking at some shorts right there, and potentially these longs are probably going to plan out for a good chunk of the time. So this Asian high is starting to look more and more attractive. Okay. And I do believe that we're going to continue going long. And so in terms of the where are we going to long from? Insufficiencies. I'm looking at insufficiencies. Yeah, NASDAQ doesn't have any insufficiencies until you get to the downside right here. But if you're looking at this guy right here is the breaker. Right there. Just respecting this imbalance on the left. Dow's coming for this breaker. I mean, this one's pretty obvious. We have an imbalance down there too. That one right there that we're trading into is a nice little overlap right there. So I'm looking at that imbalance there for some more longs. I mean, ideally, this would be the area that I'm waiting for. Right? But we have this breaker, beautiful breaker. Honestly, I really don't see us coming that low. It's not that the breaker is stronger than the imbalance. It's just that the breaker is on that imbalance is on the way to that imbalance. We hit this breaker, so the breaker is first. Dow longing from that bearish imbalance here on the left hand side. Still want to see a return back in here, to be honest. I think it's possible. And I didn't cover news just because there wasn't a lot that got my attention. But there is PMI tomorrow. So PMI, I will be up for PMI. Oh, and it happens at 9:45 a.m. Huh. Okay, cool. We'll be here for that PMI. And then Thursday, we have some 8:30 news, unemployment claims. Yeah. Not a whole lot. Consumer sentiment again. Yeah. Not a whole lot of on the economic calendar this week. Oh wow, that's a really nice accumulation right there on NASDAQ. Right, because we got this other breaker right here. Right, a breaker, and then insufficiency. Get a nice long into that high. And even looking at this liquidity, I mean, you can see that within this weekly gap range, you do have an liquidity 50% and above. And I believe that's a pretty good objective in terms of the longs. We tapped into that blue shaded area. Dow just kind of accumulating out of this area. I don't see really anything on Dow. There's a 5-minute imbalance here on Dow. I'm going to hold off though. I'm not going to buy there personally. Kind of want it to go a little bit lower. So now let's look at this gap right here. Friday's closure. Mondays or Sundays open. And you have this nice imbalance there. Trading into that breaker. All right, guys. Cool. Nasdaq is distributing from that blue shaded area. So maybe we'll get that downside area that I was mentioning. That bottom or better long, better priced long, maybe. It's just the 1 minute that distributed, so I'm not getting too overhyped off of that. Oh, there it is. It's just an imbalance. The imbalances, if they don't get closed under, I mean, they're just gonna rock through the structure. Just like that. Yeah, just how it goes. As long as your stop loss was below that imbalance, you're good. Retracements are opportunities for better prices. Write that one down for sure. Retracements are opportunities for better prices. Back into that blue shaded area. Remember, the first tap is never really it. First tap is never really it. It's not what I always see, like one tap, but it's never really like the first tap. It's multiple taps into an area that really. There it is, Dow starting this distribution above that imbalance there into that blue shaded area. So Dow on the longs hit the objective. Okay, Dow on the longs hit the objective. For a Monday, if you grabbed any of these handles, I mean, within this range, how many handles were there? I mean, how many points were there? 200 points. So within that range, if you snatch any of those 200 points, it was a nice move. Has anyone taken any trades today? Anyone taking any trades? Yep. I love Mondays. Mondays are my favorite. Alright, man. I got a story for you guys because my Saturday and weekend was just, I felt like it was a blink of an eye. I didn't even feel like a weekend, to be honest with you. Yesterday, I thought was Saturday for the longest time, actually. You lost one at the open. Were you looking for longs at the open? Because the longs did make sense at the open. It's just kind of shorted off that divergence, but it didn't hold very long at all on the in terms of the shorts. The longs did make a little bit more sense. Yeah, I longed on NAS. Yeah, the longs made sense for sure. I could see why you longed. Yeah, I totally see why. Previous area of accumulation. Yeah. Nasdaq hitting towards that objective off that 1 minute. This must be coincidences. Some random price delivery. US 30 was so clean, but you know what? Dow was really clean on the longs. I will tell you guys that. Dow was really clean on the longs. Even if you got into like the 2 minute, the 2 minute was really clean right here. It wasn't my window to trade, so I haven't taken any trades. But I got a story for you guys. So on Saturday morning, I wake up super early. First thing I do is I walk my dogs. And so on Saturday morning, first thing I do, man, is I go outside, front yard, and then this dog runs up to my dog's random ass dog. And he was a black, I don't know what kind of dog he was. He was really tiny though. Jerome, if we were talking about size comparison, he was probably the same size as your boy, as your dog. Okay. And he was a very small boy, right? Like super cute. And he had a collar but no tag. Okay. He had a collar but no tag. Okay, guys, tell me why. Like I have a really soft spot for dogs, man. Like animals, period. I can't just leave an animal. So I call animal control. Animal control here sucks. They're closed on weekends. I called a bunch of different places. They were all like, oh yeah, we're gonna send someone. I'd wait like an hour, and then I'd call them back, or wait an hour or 2 hours, and I'd call them back, and then somebody else would answer and be like, yeah, we're closed, we're not sending anyone. And I'd be like, why the fuck are you guys telling me you're gonna send someone? Right? And then I call different places, it reroutes me to the same fucking area. Somebody else answers, yeah, I'll have somebody down there in a few. I wait another hour, boom, nothing. 2 hours, boom, nothing. Now I've been with this dog. At this point, I named him Chico because I didn't know his name. I needed to call him something. I've been with this dog at this point like 6 hours. Okay, it's already like way past noon. I've already been here with him for like 6 hours, and I'm at this point, I'm just like, dude, I'm gonna feed him. We gave him some food. I mean, I could see his tailbones. Okay, I could see his tailbones. You could tell that he was starving. And so as soon as I put the food down, my boy ate that shit up super fast. He ate it up fast. Okay. 5-minute imbalance, 5-minute distro potentially. Okay. My boy ate that shit up fast. 4-hour imbalances across the board. 4-hour imbalances. 4-hour imbalance. I don't care if we don't get to this area, but that 4-hour imbalance does make sense. Okay, 4-hour bearish order flow. 4-hour bearish order flow. Does DXY agree though? No. So I'm still gonna look for bulls, for more longs. Okay. So anyways, I'm gonna keep going with the story, okay? But longs still make sense to me. In terms of the dollar's fucking in charge here. Alright, so it's about like, I found this dog around 7:30 a.m. It's already like 1:30, 2 p.m. Okay? And no one, I called a couple of places, they were like, and you know what these fucking animal places said? Everyone's closed. We have nobody to go pick up the dog till Monday. And I told him, I was like, I have 4 other dogs. I can't have this dog here. Plus, every time I put him in my backyard, this guy was an escape artist, bro. Escape artist. My dogs were looking at him so amazed. I don't know how he got out. Like, the only possible way he could have gone out is if he hopped the fence. Crazy. So, dude, the animal control, they were like, we don't have anybody to go get him till Monday. What we ask people to do is put him back where you found him if you can't keep him. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I can't put this guy back. What if he gets hit by a car? I live by a highway, right? And I just like, I refused, bro. I refused. It's just not in my fucking nature to do that. We tapped into that 5-minute imbalance. Barely tapped into it. You know, I refused to let him go. I was just like, hell no. You know, this guy's, you know, we're gonna find him home. And I looked at him and he was very kind. Every time he escaped from my backyard, he came to my front door and knocked on it. He would like scratch and paw my front door to go inside. So, dude, this dog is clearly smart. I'm walking him around. I take him around the neighborhood. I go knock on people's doors. I let him take me places. And every single house that he ran up to, I fucking pounded on that door until somebody answered. Couldn't find anything. Unfortunately, it was very sad. Couldn't find anybody. Nobody could recognize him. And then I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to take him to this emergency vet and I'm going to check for a chip. Okay, because he doesn't have a collar, but he does look like he has loving owners. His teeth are all white, and whenever I walked him, he walked right next to me. He didn't leave my side, so he was trained, right? So I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna go see if he got a chip. Okay, so NASDAQ final objective did get achieved, by the way. That's kind of as far as I'm gonna look for in NASDAQ. S&P as well achieved. That was the objective for S&P as well. And so we take him to this emergency vet, right? And bro, I'm telling you now, it's 4:30 p.m., 5 p.m. almost. Okay, he's been with us this whole day. He's already fed. He already drank water. He played with all the dogs. He was a little tired out. Best dog ever on a car ride. He didn't bother. He just sat down in the back, very well mannered. boom, he has a chip. Dude, hallelujah. My heart, dude, it was so happy because I knew deep inside that we were gonna get this dog home. And let me just look it up. Hold on. One second. Okay. We find the chip. We get his name, owner information. His name's Durango. Okay. Durango was with me for almost the whole entire day. And Durango had been missing for almost 3 weeks. Durango had been missing for almost 3 weeks, bro. 3 weeks on his own. And he traveled from my house to his house was 9 miles. And I'm talking about main fucking roads, highways. Dude, I don't know how. It's a miracle that he got to my house. He went through highways. Like, there's just no way. There's no way that he could have gone through that. Somebody must have picked him up, took him home. And, you know, he being the escape artist that he is, he just left, you know, and then ran into us. But yeah, so we go to this emergency vet. I find the person's information and I take him right to his home, bro. I take him straight to his home. His owners were really happy to see him. They told me the story that he's been gone for almost 3 weeks. And he just said that he's an escape artist. He agreed with me. Yeah. It was quite an experience, guys. Quite an experience. Like, God really does provide opportunities to give back. And, you know, like, it was a really cool opportunity that God gave us to be able to help another creature, right? My parents told me, like, I love my parents. My parents aren't assholes and anything, but they were like, you should just leave him. You know what I mean? If he escapes, he escapes. Like, there's nothing that you can do. And I'm like, fuck that. There's always something that you can do, right? Like, I'm not going to come back from all my plans today because I had a party that we totally missed. We had a family birthday party that we totally missed. And I just didn't go, you know. My parents were leaving. They're like, just come with us. Leave the dog in the back. If he escapes, he escapes. There's nothing that you can do. And I was like, fuck that. There's always something that you can do. So this is just a message to everyone. Because if you guys ever see an animal, it doesn't take that long to bring them food or anything like that. If they look deprived and stuff like that, it really didn't take much for us to feed him. It took my day, but I'd give my week, days, again and again and again to do that again. Like, it was such a cool experience. Got to meet some really cool people, and a lot of people came together to get this dog home. My wife, these vets, they got all the information for me. They got all the numbers. The information was outdated. They had to call a bunch of different places where Durango had been to the vet before to get his information. So it was just like a bunch of people coming together to help this one creature, and it was really heartwarming. Like, I remember when I dropped him off, I fucking cried. It sucked because he wanted to stay with us. Like, he did not want to go with the owner because the owner had just gotten him too. He said he had been with me for 2 weeks. He's been gone from my house more than he'd been with me. But Durango's previous owner actually passed away, and because that owner passed away, he had this new owner that weren't really used to him yet. And so he's just been around, you know what I mean? For the past month, the guy's been around past. So it's just really sad. I was like, damn. That's why I'm against breeding. Like, everyone's always asked me to breed my dogs, and I've always just been like, nah, dude. Sorry, but nah. There's no guarantee that every single dog will get a home. And there's many dogs inside the shelters. There's a lot of dogs that need help. And I just couldn't. Yeah. So shout out to Durango. Showed me a really good time all weekend on Saturday. It was so fun being with him, having him. If I wouldn't have found the owners, I swear to God, I would have kept them. I don't care. I mean, I was telling my girl too. I was just like, dude, if we can't find this home, what are we going to do? Because giving them to the shelter was not really like the option. We thought about it, and none of the shelters would come, right? And so it's just like I was just taking all of those as signs from God, like, oh, you should keep this guy. But it's you know, the way that I saw it is, if that ever happened to my dog, I would want someone to do that for me. I would want somebody to find that in their heart to just help me get him home. So yeah, beautiful experience. Awesome. Like, God really provides you opportunities every single day, every single week to do great things, and to let go of like selfishness and ego. Like, that was a really humbling moment. Really, really humbling moment. Yeah, probably looking for his owners that passed away. Yeah, man. Like I said, he was really scared. It was sad. It was really, like I said, heartbreaking just seeing him. He didn't just walk up to me. It took him a minute. It took all my dogs to come outside for him to actually get close to me. I put a leash on him and I took him to my backyard, fed him because I could see his bones and stuff. But yeah, man, what a soldier, right? 3 weeks on his own. 3 weeks on his own. There was no way that I was going to find his neighborhood. I thought he lived close to me, that I would be able to go visit him. There's no way I would have been able to find them in my neighborhood. But I'm super happy we never gave up. Yeah, so when they called the owner, I mean, yeah, you could just tell the excitement through the phone. They were just so baffled. They were so shocked that Durango, they really just considered him gone. He was just like, I had no idea that this would, someone would ever go this far. I was, dude, fuck that. Like, you were about to lose your dog. I'm sorry. Like, I was about to keep him. Yeah, right. We just let them know, because I mean, Durango didn't look like he wanted to stay there, so I just let him know that if you ever have trouble with this dog, please just hit me up and we'll gladly take him in. I gave him my number and everything. If you ever can't house this dog, like, we'll take him in. So either way, I feel like Durango will have a home, and I feel pretty confident on that now, which is badass. Dogs are just so loyal, man. Like, he would escape my backyard and come right back to the front door. Said, this guy fed me. This guy is it. Daily objective achieved on DXY. Daily objectives achieved on both NASDAQ and Dow for me. So I'm personally not going to be trading or executing. If some shorts do present themselves, I will participate. Only if the DXY ends up giving me a nice accumulation. But as of right now, I am sitting on my hands till tomorrow. Till the news at 9:45 tomorrow morning. Unless we get some really nice distros. I gotta see like a 5-minute distro and I'll take it. Okay? 5-minute distro and I'll take it. But if not, it is what it is. And yeah. Shopify, what is the symbol for that? I'm curious. What is the symbol for that? Shop, that's cool. Is Shopify part of NASDAQ? Took out major lows. Let me see something. Major lows taken. Got an imbalance here. Previous serve accumulation. All this internal liquidity. Potentially we could get back in here for sure, and then just keep going from there. But that would be the first objective right there. Really nice. I don't look at stocks too often, but I do look at options. I do look at options, and I do trade options. I'm still in some NAS longs. Yeah. I should probably let go of them. But I'm mostly out, but I did catch this accumulation down here into these longs. This is QQQQ, QQQ, yeah, QQQ, which is basically NASDAQ. It's the options version of NASDAQ. And I took most of my profit at this high. Yeah, it just kept going. Yeah, and it does look like a reaccumulation. If you look at this, NASDAQ is starting to look like a giant reaccumulation phase. Fidelity. So I use Fidelity for options. Fidelity for options. My wife at her job actually gets a discount because it's like $250 a year to open an account with Fidelity. But my wife's job actually, she's a nurse and she gets that fee waived. So I didn't pay for the Fidelity account. Yeah, I do believe that these gaps are going to be pretty interesting, give a nice reaction. They are giving a nice reaction, not just that I believe it, but they are giving a nice reaction. SPY. As much of a nice reaction they are giving though, these shorts still look very attractive. SPY is basically S&P. For those of you who don't know about options, SPY is S&P, QQQ is NASDAQ, and I have no idea if they have a Dow Jones. I haven't really gone that in depth with options. I'm sure they do. I just don't know the symbol. I would highly doubt that they didn't, so. 5-minute distro. Told you guys, if we get a 5-minute distro, I'm down to take this. There it is. Dow's starting to get that 5-minute distro. I did say that I would take a trade if we got the shorts right, so I'm looking at the shorts now. We'll see what's good. We could definitely long for the rest of the day. That's still a possibility. But given the way that we came down at the beginning of this hourly, I have a feeling that we're going to go up now. I feel pretty good about these shorts. If we rip through this low with an imbalance, you guys already know. Likewise over here and here. If we rip through the low and leave an imbalance, you guys already know. I wouldn't have to say anything. You see, if this imbalance was there across the board, like on, see, it's there on S&P, it's there on Dow, but it's not there on NASDAQ. And if it was there across the board, I'd really consider into some bullish divergence to continue pushing higher. But honestly, because it's not there across the board on all three of them, I'm not going to consider that some bullish divergence, and I'm going to continue looking for these shorts. Ideally from there. Cool, cool. Ideally, a closure through that imbalance would be the best. You know what I mean? That's what I ideally want to see, is a closure through that imbalance. At least halfway through to indicate some bullishness. I mean bearishness. Feel the same way about S&P. At least closing like 50% or below of that imbalance, it'd be ideal to look for these shorts. But if not, then bullish order flow, 15-minute will trump that 5-minute. Yeah, 15-minute will trump that 5-minute. Right? And then we are also traded into that 1-hour imbalance here, or 15-minute imbalance. Yeah, 15-minute imbalance here, 15-minute imbalance here. So I guess we're gonna keep pumping higher. Yeah, and my objectives for the longs hit today, so I'm gonna call it good right there. Right, I'm gonna call it good. Targets have been hit, areas have been definitely given out. I personally didn't see anything that was attractive enough to take, because the risk to reward just wasn't there in a lot of these. So, and I don't trade at the open, so that's rules me out for these. And we're probably just gonna go for those Asian highs, but personally not gonna participate in that. But those Asian highs now look very probable. But because a main reason, okay, so now let me just tell you guys before we end the stream. Main reason, if these guys hit an objective, cool. Okay, because they're intraday objectives. I would imagine that we can trade beyond them. They're just intraday objectives. But it's the fact that the DXY hit a major low, a major objective for me, that I'm going to not continue looking. That's why. It's mainly due to the fact that the DXY to me has already sought out for a major low. So I'm going to be sitting out on this one. But I appreciate you guys for being here, hearing my story. You know, shout out to Durango. I'll definitely pay him a visit, let you guys know how that goes. But yeah, shout out to Animals, bro. Like, constantly showing loyalty, love, affection, unconditional love, no matter what. Like, yeah, they're definitely here to teach us how to love more and how to be present and loving. So I'm gonna let you guys go. maybe we get back into this imbalance here. Okay. And here we see some reaccumulation to continue pushing to the upside. I'd be looking for those Asian highs. I'm not going to lie to you guys. For across the board, I'd be looking for those Asian highs. We may not get them today, but they look very probable. All right. And again, across the board, I would want to see us a revisitation into that imbalance to get some nice longs. We don't have to, but all right, guys. Have an amazing Monday. Remember, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. There's some news tomorrow that we're going to be waiting for before I trade, but it's at 9:45. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. for our call. And yeah, clap easy. Trade responsibly. If you did take a trade today, cool. If you didn't, well, awesome. I believe the initial shorts were beautiful. The longs were beautiful. No matter what side you played today, I feel like there's an opportunity on both ends. So guys, trade responsibly. Don't overtrade, right? We're trading below and above major lows and highs. So be sure to have proper risk management. Don't over leverage yourself. There's some big moves loading up. Big moves. Okay? So take care. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Oh, and yeah, don't forget about that promo code. Remember, run it up. Run it up. It'll give you a $120 discount. $120 discount. So make sure you guys take advantage of that, because I'm only going to have that on until Friday. And then the bootcamp is on Saturday. It will be pre-recorded. Not pre-recorded. It will be recorded and sent out to all the participants. I'm going to be adding all the participants to a chat here later on this week. And yeah, guys, make sure you run it up this quarter, all right? Final quarter, let's run it. Peace.